Have you ever felt like you're just constantly rushing? Battling this sort of invisible enemy of stress or maybe finding it really hard to focus in a world that's just overflowing with information? It feels pretty common these days, doesn't it? What if we told you that really understanding how your mind and body respond to all these pressures, well, that holds the key to not just surviving, but actually thriving. Today, we're taking a really profound deep dive. We're going into the fascinating world of emotions, the human mind, and our behavior. We're drawing on the amazing insights of Marian Rojas Estapé. She's a leading psychiatrist and author, and her work brilliantly bridges, cutting-edge neuroscience with really practical wisdom for everyday life. Our mission for this deep dive is to unpack her powerful ideas. We're talking about everything from the true nature of happiness and the incredible impact of love to the hidden effects of stress on our bodies, our brains, and ultimately how we can, intentionally sculpt our minds for a more fulfilling existence. We really want to go beyond the surface level here. We're aiming to offer you a shortcut, maybe, to understanding the complex interplay between your thoughts, your feelings, and your physical well-being. So get ready for some aha moments, maybe some surprising facts, and definitely some practical takeaways you can apply, like right away. Things to help manage information, reduce that feeling of overwhelm, and connect more deeply with yourself and the world around you. Okay, let's unpack this a bit. In a world that's kind of obsessed with quick fixes, right? We're constantly told that happiness is just, I don't know, a purchase away or a sensation or even just a swipe on a screen. But our expert today, Marian Rojas Estapé, she really challenges that idea, pushes back quite strongly, actually. She states very clearly that there are no shortcuts, no quick guides to lasting happiness. She wants us to look deeper.
Yeah, it's really striking when you think about it, how society has, in many ways, kind of substituted the true meaning of life with these, well, fleeting sensations. We chase after, a massage, gourmet food, social media likes, even alcohol. And look, these things aren't inherently bad, right? But they become destructive when they replace something deeper, when they take the place of real meaning. So it makes you ask, what is real happiness then, if it's not that? Well, the sources, and Marian's work really emphasizes this, suggest happiness is rooted in the meaning we give to our lives. This connects really nicely with the Japanese concept of ikigai. Have you heard of that? It basically describes your reason for being, your purpose.
Ikigai, right. And here's where it gets really interesting, because modern research actually backs this up completely. Having an ikigai isn't just about feeling good, emotionally. It's linked to better physical health, better psychological health, and even, get this, improved cardiovascular markers.
Exactly. It's amazing, isn't it? Your sense of purpose can literally impact your heart health. That mind-body connection is just undeniable.
And it's important to stress that this isn't about living some kind of perfect, problem-free life. Actually, quite the opposite. Marian emphasizes that every single one of us, you listening, us here, we're all constantly in some kind of personal battle. Maybe it's financial or health-related or family stuff or work pressure. Happiness, in this view, isn't the absence of struggle. It's more about connecting with the good things that happen daily, even small things, and, crucially, managing those ongoing struggles effectively, finding meaning in the process.
And she introduces a really important nuance here, the idea of plenitude. It's not quite the same as happiness, maybe. Plenitude is more like a state where your needs are met and there's this sense of contentment. You're not constantly wanting more. And what's really powerful is that you can experience suffering, real hardship, and still find moments of happiness, of plenitude within that. It's about consciously connecting with the small positives. A kind word, seeing something beautiful, enjoying a meal. It's an active choice, not just waiting for the bad stuff to end. And building on that, Marian presents a really profound truth. The best antidote, she says, to suffering and pain is love. And this isn't just romantic love, though that's part of it. It's about feeling loved, feeling connected, knowing you're not alone. It directly counteracts that awful feeling of involuntary solitude.
That feeling of being supported, understood. It's like a buffer, isn't it, against life's difficulties?
Exactly. A very powerful buffer.
So this power of love, how does it actually show up? The sources break it down into 5 categories, each with its own impact. First up is self-love. But not narcissism, right? Or insecurity. It's a balanced self-appreciation. And the key here seems to be our inner voice, that constant dialogue we have with ourselves.
Absolutely. That inner voice shapes our self-esteem, how we treat ourselves. Is it kind, critical? That internal relationship is foundational.
Okay, second is romantic love. The one we hear about most, maybe. Plato said something like, love makes even the coward brave.
He did. And it really does inspire courage, risk-taking, builds confidence. Marian notes people often transform when they fall in love, become fearless.
And there are physical benefits too, like a better immune system.
Yes, research shows it improves the immune system, leading to better physical and psychological health. Feeling truly loved literally makes you healthier. It's quite something. The third category is broader. Love for others. This is about cooperation, solidarity, so family, friends, colleagues, even strangers in a sense. Being in harmony with those around you, feeling that community support, it really cushions the blows of stress. Think about financial worries, for example. They feel less crushing if you know you have people who love and support you, right? You're not facing it alone.
That emotional safety net makes a huge difference.
Fourth is love for beliefs and ideals. Ortega y Gasset's wisdom is mentioned here. Believing in and loving your convictions gives you immense strength. It helps you overcome almost anything. It's about having that strong inner compass, that sense of purpose guiding you through tough times, standing for something you believe in.
And the fifth one, this one is really fascinating. Love for memories. Marian calls it the magical memory recaller. Apparently, Nobel laureate Susumu Tonegawa discovered that when you intensely recall a pleasant memory, like really feel it again.
Yes. It activates the same brain mechanisms as when the event actually happened. It's not just remembering, it's like re-experiencing it physiologically.
Wow, that's like magic almost. So in moments of distress, using techniques like EMDR or even just relaxation, bringing up those positive images, feeling loved, grateful, cherished, can actually create biochemical changes, help you feel better physically.
Precisely. Your brain can leverage those positive past experiences to soothe you in the present. It's a built-in calming mechanism if you know how to use it. And this love for memories, it also encourages empathy, doesn't it, and connection. Marian shares a story about her father, how he'd meticulously know personal details about people in his phone contacts, like his father has arthritis, his wife has Alzheimer's.
Not just facts, but pieces of their lives.
Exactly. Remembering those details fosters deeper connection, understanding. It's the opposite of our often rushed lives where we barely pay attention to what others are going through. It's a form of active love, really.
You know that feeling. Your heart races before a presentation, or your stomach churns before an exam. Those butterflies. We all know it. Marian, coming from a family of psychiatrists, she really wanted to understand that link. The mind-body connection that sometimes felt, well, missing in standard medical training. She saw the symptoms, but wanted the deeper why.
Yeah, and she uses this great analogy, an alarm system. Imagine we're talking, and suddenly sirens blare. Someone shouts, "Fire!" Instantly, automatically, your body reacts. That threat signal hits the hypothalamus in your brain. The hypothalamus then sends a signal like lightning fast to your adrenal glands on top of your kidneys. And boom, they release adrenaline, the fight or flight hormone we all know, and cortisol, the main stress hormone. Once that happens, your brain just shifts gears. Survival mode, fight or flight. And the physical signs are immediate, right? Tachycardia, heart races, pumping blood everywhere, getting muscles ready.
Are you ready for action?
Exactly. Then tachypnea breathing gets fast and shallow, trying to suck in more oxygen from muscles and cells. And your body mobilizes energy, releasing glucose and fats from stores. Instant fuel.
But it hits your brain too, doesn't it? Like your thinking gets fuzzy.
Definitely. The prefrontal cortex, your rational brain, for problem solving. Reflection, it gets impaired. It's hard to think clearly, follow logic. Survival takes priority over complex thought.
Makes sense in a real emergency.
For sure. And the hippocampus, your memory center, it's super sensitive to cortisol. That's why you get memory lapses, that brain fog, feeling under stress. And it messes with your natural cortisol cycle, too. Normally, it's low at night. You need that for sleep peaks around 8 a.m. to get you going, then drops during the day.
But constant stress throws that all off.
Completely off. Keeps you wired when you should be winding down.
Okay, and here's the really mind-bending part. Our mind and body don't distinguish between a real physical threat, the fire alarm, getting mugged, and an imagined one, worrying about the future, about money, replaying arguments in your head. Your body reacts the same way.
Exactly the same physiological cascade. The alarm bells ring just as loud for a thought as for a tiger, essentially. So think about this. Marian cites data suggesting over 90%, like 91.4% of our worries never actually happen.
Wow, that's a lot of wasted stress.
It is. And it means we're constantly putting ourselves in this state of sustained alert, what Marian calls cortisol intoxication. It keeps the sympathetic nervous system, the fight-or-flight system, switched on all the time. And this chronic cortisol intoxication, it leads to real physical changes. Like across the board, you often see hair loss. In survival mode, hair is an essential, right? So cortisol inhibits the follicle recovery. Hair gets brittle, falls out.
Okay, that makes sense. And skin.
Skin changes too. Cortisol messes with fibroblasts, which make collagen, so more wrinkles, age spots, maybe even skin color changes. It literally ages your skin.
And what about breathing, that chest tightness people feel?
Yeah, cardiopulmonary issues, that constant chest depression, shortness of breath, difficulty breathing, it's very common.
And muscles. People always complain about tension.
Exactly. Muscular tension. Muscles stay clenched, ready to fight or flee. Leads to stiffness, chronic pain, those knots in your shoulders, generalized aches. And internally, it causes hormonal imbalance, disrupts estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, affects the whole endocrine system. But maybe the biggest insight is the immune system dysfunction. This is critical.
Right, you said acute stress might be anti-inflammatory, but chronic stress.
Chronic stress breaks that link. The immune system stops listening to cortisol's calm down signals.
So it just stays inflamed.
Precisely. It leads to this dangerous, latent, low-grade inflammation throughout the body. Not acute red-hot inflammation, but this constant simmering background inflammation.
And that shows up as things like gastritis, gut issues, skin problems.
Exactly. Gastritis, gastroenteritis, tonsillitis, irritable bowel syndrome, dermatitis. It's like your body's always slightly on fire internally.
And that constant inflammation can then trigger a whole cascade of other physical and psychological problems. A vicious cycle.
A really vicious cycle.
Okay, let's talk about the gut. That gut feeling we get before an exam, a first date. There's a reason for that, right? The second brain.
Absolutely. The digestive system has this huge network of neurons, almost like a brain itself. What we think and feel directly impacts it. It's a two-way street, that gut-brain axis. And it's fascinating how stress hits our gut health. Inside your intestines, you have these tiny villi for absorbing nutrients.
Yeah.
And you have the microbiota, that crucial balance of good and bad bacteria.
Which is super important for digestion, immunity.
Fundamental. Marian says it's one of the hottest areas in medicine right now. But chronic stress, that constant cortisol drip, along with a poor diet, it really messes up that delicate microbiota balance. And when that balance is off, it can damage the gut lining. Intestinal permeability leads to leaky gut.
Leaky gut, where things get into the bloodstream that shouldn't.
Exactly. Undigested food, toxins, they leak through the compromised gut lining and become toxic systemically. And now research is linking this leaky gut to neurological issues, even neurodegenerative diseases. The gut-brain connection is incredibly profound.
Common symptoms being gas, bloating.
Yeah, fermentation, gas, abdominal bloating. Marian suggests a simple check. Look at your gums. Do they bleed easily? Or notice how your stomach feels after eating certain foods. Those can be signs of general inflammation.
So besides the physical toll, what about the psychological side of being constantly alert?
Oh, it's huge. First, irritability. When your system's always on edge, you're just more vulnerable. You snap easily. Little things set you off.
A short fuse syndrome.
Totally. Then, sleep disturbances.
Yeah.
We touched on this, but difficulty falling asleep. Waking up frequently, often around 3 or 4 a.m. with anxiety or sleeping loads, but still feeling exhausted. Because you're not getting that deep restorative sleep. Your body never fully repairs. And this is a really key point Marian makes. Many depressions actually stem from these permanent states of alert.
So it's not just sadness, it's a physiological response to chronic stress.
Often, yes. After intense periods of challenge or worry, even after success, like her husband passing tough exams, the brain physiologically enters a kind of recovery state. Sadness, apathy, it's a natural dip.
And knowing that helps.
Immensely, as she says, to understand is to alleviate. Knowing why you feel that way, that it's a biological process, takes away a lot of the fear and self-blame. It allows for self-compassion.
Okay, so given this deep connection between mind and body and how vulnerable we are to stress and frustration, what can we actually do? How do we manage this?
Well, the number one recommendation, really for everyone, is to get a basic understanding of how you function, how your specific mind and body work, and especially how you react to pressure. Self-awareness is step one, which leads to the question, what's your unique stress signature? You know, when the pressure's on, do you get back pain, blurred vision, skin flare-ups, gut problems, or maybe neurological things like that eyelid twitch?
Knowing your personal alarm signals.
Exactly. Recognizing those signals early lets you know when your system's getting overloaded, so you can intervene before it becomes a crisis. And beyond the physical, she really pushes for a kind of psychological self-diagnosis. Understand your personality traits. Are you shy, sensitive, impulsive, obsessive, perfectionistic, distrustful, maybe overly dependent on others' opinions, insecure? Then, what are your typical psychological responses? Anxiety, panic, sadness, and critically, what triggers your alert mode? Certain people, situations, memories. Identifying those triggers is key to regaining control.
It's like understanding how your personality shifts under pressure, right?
Precisely. The sensitive person becomes vulnerable, maybe emotionally volatile. The shy person freezes up. The impulsive one gets more aggressive. The overthinker gets stuck in obsessive loops. The perfectionist feels constantly dissatisfied.
And understanding that pattern brings relief.
Huge relief. It stops being this mysterious, scary thing. It becomes a map you can use to navigate your inner world more effectively. And connecting this to overall well-being, Marian really emphasizes living an anti-inflammatory life. Because, as we discussed, so many people are likely walking around with this low-grade chronic inflammation due to stress.
So diet plays a role here.
A big role.
Mm-hmm.
Not about obsession, she cautions, but making informed choices. Many common foods are pro-inflammatory. Eating well consistently should be the rule, not the exception, to actively support your body.
And sleep. You called it the ultimate repair kit. It seems so fundamental.
It absolutely is. When sleep goes wrong, everything else tends to follow. Sleep is when your mind, body, immune system, everything repairs itself. The hippocampus consolidates memories.
It's non-negotiable, really.
Totally non-negotiable.
Yeah.
If you're not sleeping well, you're undermining everything else.
So tips for better sleep: avoid heavy dinners, alcohol, and screens, right? That blue light.
Definitely. Be super mindful of screen light before bed. It blocks melatonin, the sleep hormone.
So prioritizing sleep means making conscious choices about evenings, screens. It's an investment.
A crucial investment in your entire well-being. Then, in terms of mindful living, it's about finding healthy habits, nurturing relationships, identifying those healthy escape routes activities that genuinely relieve stress, help evaporate cortisol.
Like exercise.
Exercise, yes.
Yeah.
Regular healthy activity is key. But importantly, not excessive exercise, which can actually trigger the alert mode in some people. Finding that balance is crucial, and working on that inner voice. Consciously making it supportive, not self-sabotaging. How do you talk to yourself? It matters hugely. And then the idea of surrounding yourself with vitamin people, being really intentional about who you spend time with.
Avoiding the energy vampires.
Essentially, yes. Sometimes the core problem is being around people who constantly put you on alert. Seek out those who uplift and calm you.
It really comes down to balancing the nervous system, doesn't it? We're not built for constant sympathetic activation, that alert mode.
Not at all. A little bit can boost performance short-term, sure.
Yeah.
But prolonged exposure just leads to burnout and illness. So the goal is to consciously learn to switch. From the sympathetic alert, cortisol-driven, to the parasympathetic, the relaxation, rest, and digest system.
Through things like meditation, deep breathing, connection.
Yes. Connecting with yourself, others, something bigger. Intentionally shifting into that parasympathetic mode lets your body, mind, and immune system recover, repair, and get ready to face challenges more effectively from a place of calm.
Have you ever just reacted completely out of proportion to something? Like your emotions just hijacked the situation? That's the amygdala hijack. Right?
Exactly. It's fascinating how the amygdala, the brain's emotion center, linked to anxiety, fear, talks to the hippocampus where memories are stored. If a memory isn't processed properly, isn't archived right, or something in the present triggers that unprocessed memory. Bang! The amygdala's reaction can be incredibly strong, totally disproportionate.
Like an old wound getting poked.
Precisely. It happens all the time with certain people, animals, fears like flying, even in parenting, right? You overreact to your kid's behavior.
Yeah, feeling guilty afterward.
Totally. So the first step always is awareness, recognizing, okay, this is an amygdala hijack happening. Then you can start working to short-circuit that explosive loop. And this ties into a bigger idea Marian emphasizes. Life isn't just about what happens to us, it's about how we interpret it. Our perception is everything. And that interpretation is shaped by three key filters. First, our belief system. We all have these deep-seated ideas, often unconscious about how things should be. Life, relationships, work. These core beliefs are the hardest to change. They're like the bedrock of our reality.
Right. She tells that story about the mother who couldn't accept her son wanting to be a pianist because the family were all engineers.
Exactly. For her, pianist problem, because it didn't fit the belief system. Our resistance to challenging these beliefs often stops us enjoying life, accepting others.
So knowing your own belief system is crucial because it filters everything you experience without you even realizing it sometimes.
Absolutely. It's the lens. Second filter, our state of mind. Our current emotional state massively colors how we interpret things. Remember her anecdote about Spain winning the World Cup? Everyone was ecstatic, interpreting everything positively.
Because the collective state of mind was high.
Exactly. Conversely, if you're feeling low, stressed, even good news can seem bad. And this state depends on sleep, circumstances, pandemic versus normal times, and your core personality. If you're naturally sensitive or distrustful, that shapes your state of mind. Working on things like a victim mentality can significantly shift how you perceive everything.
Okay, and the third filter. This one has a tricky name but a cool function. The ascending reticular activating system, ARAS.
Yes. Terrible name, magical function, as she says. It's a primitive part of the brain, deep down, acting as your internal filter. It lets you focus on what interests you amidst the constant sensory bombardment. Without it, we'd be overwhelmed. It explains that saying, luck favors the prepared mind. If you're looking for a specific job, suddenly you notice articles, hear conversations about it. Your air race is filtering for it.
Like Marian preparing to meet Kofi Annan and then spotting his wife, her brain was primed.
Exactly. Her air race was filtering for anything related. It helps you spot opportunities you'd otherwise miss. But the big inhibitor, the main thing that shuts down the ARAS, screens.
Of course.
Screens give instant gratification, dopamine hits. A fake digital life, Marian calls it. The mechanism is so similar to drug addiction. Treatment is often similar too. That constant digital stimulation stops us connecting with reality, noticing real opportunities. It dulls our natural filter.
Which brings us back to the prefrontal cortex, PFC, the executive control center. Attention, concentration, problem solving, impulse control. What makes us, human in a complex way.
Right. And it develops slowly. It's immature at birth, matures over years, earlier in girls, interestingly. Initially, it's stimulated by basics: light, sound, movement. A baby looking at a rattle.
But as we grow, we need to develop attention for immobile things, like a book or a teacher.
Yes, that deeper, sustained focus. Not just reacting to stimuli, but directing attention intentionally. So, the big question: what happens if we expose kids or ourselves constantly to screens from an early age?
The screen does the stimulating, provides endless novelty.
Precisely. The external device does the work, so the internal attention mechanisms don't develop as strongly. It's use it or lose it. If we rely on GPS constantly, our internal navigation skills weaken. If we rely on Google for every fact, our memory recall might suffer. We outsource the function.
And the cost. Screens teach our brains not to manage boredom, which you said is the cradle of creativity.
Yes. Boredom allows for reflection, imagination, wonder. Screens eliminate that space.
And they teach us not to manage stress, which dictates our quality of life.
Exactly. If the brain is always entertained externally, it doesn't learn to cope with internal discomfort or generate its own engagement.
So what's the good news? We can strengthen the PFC through willpower.
Absolutely. Willpower, which Marian defines beautifully as the capacity to postpone reward. In our I want it now world, that's a superpower. She suggests practical challenges, small things. This week, no chocolate, only one episode tonight, 15 minutes max on Instagram.
Like doing reps for your willpower muscle.
Exactly like that. It educates your PFC, strengthens it, and that helps you go further in life, achieve bigger goals. Plus, when you do allow your mind to wander, manage boredom, that's when great ideas often pop up. Not usually in frantic moments, but in calm, reflective ones, like Newton and the apple. Deeper thought happens in stillness. And fundamentally, she argues, sculpting our brain by choosing what we pay attention to determines our whole quality of life intellectually, cognitively, even relationally. Attention is the currency. So practical steps. How do we enhance focus, presence? First, focus on the positive. Consciously notice, reflect on 3 good things each day. Small things count. Look at something with great interest for it to become interesting. Train your brain to see the good.
Second, savor with your senses, ground yourself. Really taste your food flavors, texture. Listen intently what sounds are around you right now. Engage all senses to slow down. Focus on the present. Pull yourself out of the noise.
Third, discriminate information, especially online. Develop critical thinking. Learn to filter the noise. Find what's valuable. Discard the rest. It's a survival skill now. Fourth, embrace reading, especially on paper. Marian says, reading is to the mind what physical exercise is to the body. Paper allows deeper engagement than screens, which are full of distractions, promoting continuous alternation of attention, switching, not focusing, reduces efficiency, comprehension.
And fifth, this feels really profound. Do one thing with full attention and heart. Multitasking is an illusion, right? Leads to superficial work. Instead, give your full attention, your heart, to whatever you're doing, mundane or major. Think about how it feels when someone gives you their undivided attention, like the world stops.
Yes. That quality of presence. Marian takes notes on paper and consultations, avoids the computer, to give patients that full presence. We can do that in daily life. Put the phone away when you get home, open hands for a hug, eye contact, get down on a child's level, delay the non-urgent stuff to be fully present for the people who matter. That presence is a powerful gift.
Let's talk about those modern pressures. That constant urge to check your phone, the FOMO fear of missing out, they keep us on edge, don't they? Feeding that stress cycle.
They absolutely do. Our digital lives are a huge source of chronic stress. Marian's advice is blunt. Turn off notifications. You dominate the device, not the other way around.
Yeah.
Stop being reactive.
Makes sense. And what about chronopathy? That need to always be busy.
Yeah, that obsession with constant activity. Trying to stop cold turkey can cause anxiety attacks, she notes. It needs a gradual slowing down, like walking downstairs, not jumping off. And then there's perfectionism. The curse of perpetual dissatisfaction, always finding flaws, striving for the impossible.
Because life is imperfect.
Exactly. That constant alertness, searching for flaws, leads to obsessive issues, deep dissatisfaction. Understanding its toll on health is vital. It's a self-imposed stress state. So more tools for balance. She really highlights sport combined with nature. Exercising outdoors, beach, mountain studies show it's significantly more relaxing, better at lowering cortisol than city workouts or even looking at virtual nature.
Nature itself is calming, helps shift to that parasympathetic state.
Much more easily, yes. It has an inherent restorative quality.
And conscious breathing. We talked about the rapid breathing and stress.
Yeah.
But we can consciously change that.
Yes, it's incredibly powerful and simple. When anxiety makes breathing shallow and fast, you get that oxygen-CO2 imbalance causing dizziness, tingling, panic. Learning to breathe deeply, diaphragmatically, can instantly calm the system.
The technique being
Breathe in deeply through the nose, hold for a few seconds, exhale slowly through the mouth. Maybe add a positive thought or gratitude on the exhale. It's a direct physical way to shift to the parasympathetic state. Improves everything, even sleep. Marian used it to help someone having a panic attack on a plane. It works. And mindfulness, or full attention. Not just formal meditation, but connecting with yourself, noticing sensations, thoughts, just being present. It has paused those negative loops. Two key ingredients for success here are acceptance of what you can't control and letting go of the need to control everything. Trying to relax by controlling just backfires, increases anxiety. True calm comes from surrender.
It's amazing how all these techniques show that deep link mind, psyche, soul, body. We can consciously influence our own well-being. We're not just passive victims of stress.
Not at all. We have agency. But often, we live in survival mode. Right. Just getting through the day, kids, work, money, health. It's hard to connect with your deeper self in that state. To reach your best version, Marian argues, you need moments of pause. A retreat from the noise, a weekend, longer to ask the big questions. What's my purpose? My ikigai? You need that reflective space. And she offers this simple, powerful equation for achieving that best version. Surprisingly mathematical for a psychiatrist. Best version, knowledge plus life project plus willpower. X, passion. Let's break it down. Knowledge. What you learn, understand. Your skills, insights. Life project. Having clear goals, direction. Knowing where you're going, your purpose. Willpower. That strong prefrontal cortex. Postponing gratification, discipline, consistency.
Okay, those three add together, build on each other.
Right, but then comes the multiplier. Passion. Passion is the key, the force multiplier. Absolutely. Putting your heart into what you do, whatever your role, doctor, parent, artist, cleaner. The world has too many people just going through the motions. But with passion, any role becomes a chance to transform yourself and impact others positively. It ignites everything.
So the takeaway is take time to pause, reflect on your knowledge, your goals, your discipline, but crucially, find and ignite that passion. That's where the real transformation happens, unlocking your best self.
Exactly. It's in that reflective space, fueled by passion, that you move beyond just surviving to truly thriving.
Wow. We've covered so much today. A really deep dive from happiness and love to the nitty-gritty of stress hormones and brain function. And lots of practical tools, self-awareness, lifestyle changes, rewiring our attention.
We have. And as we wrap up, maybe a final thought to consider. If our attention truly is the currency of our lives, and it's constantly being pulled away by notifications, digital noise, the need for instant fixes, are we investing it wisely? Are we spending our most valuable resource on what truly matters? What would life look like if we consciously gave our full, undivided attention, our heart, to the people, moments, and activities that genuinely enrich our real lives?
That's a powerful question to leave with. We really invite you, our listener, to reflect on these insights, maybe try out some of the tools we discussed, and begin that journey of consciously sculpting your mind toward a life of deeper connection, real fulfillment, and ultimately your very best self.